And again, you have a lot of people out there, they like either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or XRP. What I would tell you is learn to like all three real quick. Like
JP Morgan's building their stablecoin on Ethereum. Robinhood is tokenizing on Ethereum. The custody banks are doing it on Ethereum. So it's really where Wall Street meets, but that's also where AI is meeting crypto, because as you know, as we tokenize and move towards robots, you need a token economy to control them, which is taking place on Ethereum. If this is the 2017 moment for Ethereum at 3,700, it could make a move to 30,000 or more. On top of that, Ethereum pays you for providing network security by staking. That's a 3% yield. So BitMine owns over $3 billion worth of Ethereum. When we start staking and it's legally compliant, all within the US, that's more than $100 million of revenue. Of net income. So it's a profitable treasury company.
Tom Lee, he's not the only one saying it. He's just saying it the loudest. Ethereum has become the in token for the institutional investor. And that's interesting because it was written off not too long ago, and now it comes roaring back. We see this time and time again in crypto. And to really understand this crypto market, you got to constantly be tracking Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. That's the holy trinity of cryptocurrencies. That tells you what this whole space will do. Right now, Ethereum has the most fascinating setup we've seen in years. Stablecoins, tokenization, institutional adoption. Those aren't buzzwords any longer. Those are pillars of a new era of digital finance here. And Ethereum sits right in the middle of all three. We had the Washington Genius Act to $1 trillion inflows into ETFs, corporate balance sheets to government reserves. The scale of adoption is accelerating in many ways that people aren't really ready for here. We're going to break into what's really happening with Ethereum, the policy momentum, the whale moves, the explosive growth in DeFi, layer twos, and even the role of Ethereum could play in powering the AI economy. There's a lot to go over here. Let's get into it. We take a look at this. Ethereum, the infrastructure of global digital finance. Crypto, we've really entered a new era. It's not about talking about what the future may look like. It's about onboarding people for adoption. And we've seen that shift here. The industry has been driven by stablecoins, tokenization, and institutional adoption. You want to look at those chains that are showing progress in those areas. In all of these areas, Ethereum is a dominant force. President Trump's signature of the Genius Act on July 18th, it really marked a turning point. Many are calling the end of the beginning of the crypto space here, the end of that planning phase, that dreaming phase into actual action and adoption of blockchain technology. We're seeing it from JP Morgan, the BlackRock, to the things Ripple is doing out there. It's amazing to see that shift, and it's going to continue to expand and in a big way. Now, policy momentum, this is so important here. Congress, they're still debating what the market structure bill will look like, the Clarity Act, but regulators, they're getting to work. They are clearing up a lot of this stuff through policy, especially on staking and investment products, so we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait for those bills to pass at this point in time. The SEC is going to give us the frameworks to allow staking in ETFs and all sorts of new investment products to hit the market here. And Ethereum, with its deep ecosystem and institutional appeal, is positioned at the center of all of these developments. And it's come alive in a big way here recently. Now, Ethereum ETF dominance here of late. It's interesting. It was just getting dominated by Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the runaway favorite, and it's flipped to Ethereum here recently. 3.87 billion net inflows in August alone. Ethereum's ETF significantly outpaced Bitcoin. We have 19.2 billion assets under management, a milestone that validates Ethereum's place in traditional finance. Institutional flows highlight unprecedented demand for regulated Ethereum exposure, cementing its position into TradFi ecosystems. And what's exciting about these types of networks is part of it is investment, but part of it is usage of the network, and both are growing in a significant way. Corporate and government's adoption. We saw BitMine, that's Tom Lee's company, adding 106,000 Ethereum, bringing their total to 1.3. SharpLink Gaming, co-founded by Joe Lubin, expanded to nearly 800,000 Ethereum. The U.S. government itself has staked 65,000 Ethereum as part of its digital reserve strategy. Corporates are treating Ethereum as a strategic balance sheet asset, signaling Ethereum's recognition and national financial infrastructure. Well accumulation, that tells you follow the money. What is the money doing? Supporting the bullish case, exchange balances have dropped to 9-year lows. The big money knows what's coming here shortly. Roughly 470,000 Ethereum have been accumulated in the past week, a clear signal of long-term conviction. Large players are positioned for sustained appreciation rather than just short-term speculation here. We have big upgrades on the network. Ethereum infrastructure, the Petra upgrade. Ethereum implemented the Petra hard fork, its most ambitious upgrade since the merge here. 11 EIPs incorporated, improved scalability, user experience, and validator efficiency. We expanded the capacity of validators. They are getting ready for institutions to jump in here, run validators, stake their own Ethereum. This is going to be the future here. Scaling and layer 2 explosion, Petra. EIP 7691 doubled the blob space capacity, cutting layer 2 fees and boosting throughput. This is interesting. I see so many people say, well, all the transactions go to layer 2. That's not going to help the layer 1 mainnet. It all will eventually roll. Those transactions, that value, it will roll to the mainnet. And it's going to be extra compelling when you go to someone like BlackRock and you say, well, look, we can go the Coinbase route, and we're much bigger than them, where they control their layer 2, they make all the fees, and we still can leverage Ethereum for its decentralization and its utility. But you have Coinbase making $50 million in fees, and BlackRock will be some magnitude much higher. Of course, they're going to like this. We see Sony, we see Robinhood. Everyone is rolling out these scaling solutions, and they're building out the ecosystem for Ethereum. And it's going to continue to happen. L2 has now processed 11 to 12x more transactions than the mainnet. Arbitrum and Optimism processed 46 million transactions in July. And we see a 94% cost savings compared to the mainnet. Now, when we look at all of crypto, whether we're talking about XRP Ledger, even Solana has started this process. They're all going in modular buildouts anyway. Everyone's doing this. This is really the future. You're not going to be able to do everything on the main chain. And we've all kind of come around to that. But, Ethereum got a big head start, and they have a lot of building, a lot of scaling already done, as everyone now is going that way. Now, DeFi dominance, we see Ethereum leading the way over Solana and Binance Chain. Ethereum achieved record DEX volume, $139 billion in August, outpacing competitors. DeFi transaction value locked now is $83 billion. There's a lot of transactions, a lot of active addresses. And you see Solana, it's kind of close. But, we saw the other day, someone do a transaction for billions of dollars happening on the Ethereum blockchain. That's not going to happen on Solana. The high value stuff, the big dollar stuff, the big, institutional type of transactions, that's still happening on Ethereum, not Solana, not Binance Coin. That's for sure here. So while other competitors do catch up in a lot of important use cases, gaming, NFTs, all this stuff, most of your heavy hitter, big DeFi stuff is happening on Ethereum. It's got its role and it plays it well. Regulatory clarity on staking. The SEC clarified this is so big on August 5th, 2025. Certain liquid staking activities, those are not securities. As long as the tokens are fully backed one-to-one, this removes uncertainty from platforms like Lido and Rocket Pool. VanEck, they are pushing hard for an ETF that allows staking reserves or rewards 3.5% annualized returns through these staking rewards. If approved, this is going to set a precedent, and it's going to be popular. People are going to like the idea that they can invest in a crypto ETF, and they're going to get monthly or quarterly dividends back in more crypto. It's going to be popular, and it's going to push ETFs even further here. Ethereum versus Solana, you always want to take a look at these two, the biggest, layer 1 smart contract blockchains there are. Short-term performance, Solana's up a little bit, 17%, Ethereum's at 6%, but there's an institutional preference. Institutions are overwhelmingly favoring Ethereum for its liquidity, staking infrastructure, and L2 ecosystem. Right now, where there is no competition, DeFi, TVL, Ethereum has 83 billion, Solana has 8 billion. The battle between Ethereum and Solana continues, but Ethereum's mainnet is the long-term institutional choice time and time again. Solana does great. It's going to do great. But when it comes to if Microsoft is going live somewhere, BlackRock's going live somewhere, if, Ripple's going to do something cross-chain, it's not going to be Solana. It's going to be Ethereum first, and then maybe roll over to Solana. That's going to be the first stop for all your big businesses out there. Staking and restaking boom. Ethereum's proof of stake yields 3.8 to 5.5%. It remains competitive with traditional bonds. We have 33.8 million Ethereum is now staked. And again, you're getting a reward not back in dollars that are going down in value, but an appreciating asset. And people will appreciate this type of setup as they really wrap their mind around it. Institutions are particularly embracing liquid restaking, where Ethereum earns staking rewards plus DeFi yield. That compounding effect is huge. Over 30 billion has migrated into protocols like EtherFi, and reflects really a shift from safe staking into some higher yield, more advanced strategies, and that will continue to happen as we go forward. Well rotation. This tells me where I feel this is big for Ethereum and the whole coin space. Most people are saying it's not going to happen right now, but some big money is making bets otherwise. 2 billion in Bitcoin rotated, over 2 billion. A well converted 400 to 416,000 Ethereum, and staked 275 of it through Hyperliquid. We had a second whale that made a $220 million conversion from Bitcoin to Ethereum. So some big, probably family offices, hedge funds, something like that, they're starting to move some of their investment out of Bitcoin and into Ethereum, which leads me to believe that we should expect an outperformance by the altcoin space. Ethereum should outperform Bitcoin here pretty shortly. It's not a minor bet, well over $2.5 billion in total between these two wells moved into Ethereum from Bitcoin. They're not doing that because they think it's going to lag behind Bitcoin's performance. Conviction. Well, staking Ethereum shows long-term confidence. It's the other thing. They have it there for the longer term. Liquidity shift. Bitcoin capital is flowing into Ethereum, tightening supply. Ethereum is no longer just second to Bitcoin. It's commanding serious institutional flows. We're seeing it in whale activity. We're seeing it in ETF flows. It's starting to become popular in that crowd versus just Bitcoin here. Also, AI, we heard Tom Lee talk a little bit about this, plus Ethereum, the next frontier, a new proposal, ERC 8004, co-authored by Google, envisions Ethereum as a backbone of an AI agent economy. So this is going to be a big driver, a popular area of crypto. And we've heard a lot of people say, what blockchain can do for artificial intelligence and the decentralization of that may be more important than what it does for money. This is going to be a big vector of growth within crypto. Invest in those chains that are going to take part in artificial intelligence. That's going to be a big one. Really, final takeaway here, Ethereum is evolving faster than ever, record-breaking ETF inflows, government adoption, layer 2 scaling, AI integration, from DeFi dominance to institutional recognition. Ethereum is no longer just a crypto experiment. It's becoming the infrastructure of global digital finance. And again, you have a lot of people out there, they like either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or XRP. What I would tell you is learn to like all three real quick, because this is the future. And again, there'll be other blockchains as well, but those three are leading the way, and it's been continuous and it's going to continue. And you want to make sure you understand what's happening in all of those three ecosystems. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.